Mhm. I'm doing good. Feeling good about this game. As you said, they have a little bit of history between them. Um, and we've already seen their banter if you've been paying attention in banter chat. So definitely excited for this throwdown. Um, I'll have to wait and see if Dr. Bovine Basher will actually pick up his Alistar, his namesake. Everybody would be like, "Oh, he's talking to himself." Hello.
Oh, I think everybody can hear me now.
Okay.
Not entirely sure though. Okay. Yep, the team just confirmed that they can hear me now.
Do we run it back?
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have a matchup between two TPO teams, Argonauts and the Mutant Atomic Supermen. Um, Big matchup between the two. The ADC for MAS used to be the top laner for Argonauts before deciding to go off, so it's kind of like a brotherly sibling matchup going on tonight between these two teams. Tonight I am joined by Dark here, and I am the Honk Legion, also known as Jim Halbert.
Hello.
And it looks like the teams are ready to go, and the draft is going to start. Yep.
Before the draft starts and we see bans, have you seen any patch changes, and do you think that will affect today's game? Zeri
Uh,
banned off blue side, by the way.
Zeri is not a surprising ban. Uh, Looks like there's a lot of ADC bans so far between Zeri, Twitch, and Tristana. Neither team's trying to make their ADC comfortable. Um, I want to say probably the big thing that could have go into effect is that those Maokai nerfs.
Right.
I know that it's been something that's gotten played around, as well as Elise, and do know that Red Eagle for Argonauts plays a lot of Elise. There's a lot of actual like jungle bans this past patch, so that's going to have some effect. Mumu, Elise, Jarvan, Maokai, and Udyr all received some nerfs.
Aurelion still hovered, but oh, it is banned at the. Yeah, I was gonna say Aesol is really strong at the moment. With the right composition, he scales really good. And the other ban is Jarvan from Red Side, which is also another pick that's been coming through with the changes with his W um, changes and upgrades that he's been given. Zaya picked up blue side, which is another AD carry really strong. So three AD carries banned out, and Zaya picked. So red side's running out of AD carries to pick.
Yeah, Zaya is one of Galaxy Fox's more favorites um, regarding those ADCs. Gwen for that top lane, kind of sitting there looking at it going like, she's very good into tanks. She's got that tank shred going for her. Can avoid a lot of the ranged attacks, so it's something that may be good in that top lane.
A
Gives them
little
the
surprising, in my opinion, Gwen pick up R1 just because I think now blue side gets a top lane counter. Unless this Gwen is going into jungle or is flexible into jungle, then it's a good pick. And Garen picked up on blue side, so they don't think it's a jungle pickup. They think Gwen is top lane, and their answer towards it is Garen. Janna is answered, I am guessing by Zillion. Um, nope. Going to Blitzcrank, I assume. But I really like the Gianna pickup. Just denies any sort of engaged picks. So I'll start her word from
Yeah.
Argonauts. End up picking Blitzcrank, which is the classic enchanter counter. Um, if you can't engage into them, just pull them into you, right?
Yeah, and that's another like it's a lot of comfort picks so far from Argonauts. Dr. MF does have that Garen that we saw him on in the charity tournament. We've seen Tactical Baptism on that Blitzcrank, but it does look like they are MAS is going to take that Sivir. So the bot lanes and top lanes are shown.
Bot lanes and top lanes are shown. Several picked up a denial to Blitzcrank, almost, I would assume. Maybe they already thought, as you said, we've already seen uh, tactical baptisms Blitzcrank, and he's like pretty known about for it. So maybe they already had a plan that if he picks it, we'll pick Sivir. Not a bad idea. It does make it so that Janna is more vulnerable now. Like she's a way easier target because that's the only target you're gonna pull. Red side banned
Interesting.
Annie after Jarvan, and then blue side followed it by banning Ornn, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, that is an Ornn top lane. So unless they're thinking that it is a Gwen in another lane, where they're thinking
Right.
about that flex, the Gwen into Garen matchup isn't bad. It's kind of like a 50-50 matchup, but it's very
Yeah.
interesting. They look like they're either going to throw a tank somewhere in there. They're just kind of worried about that and getting rid of those solid tanks for Argonauts from the Ornn and Sion, but that's a Zac locked in for them, so it's definitely a solo lane Gwen.
Well, Zach has been pretty good in solo lane, so I would
That's
not be
true.
surprised if he is taken into top or mid lane. Which again, picking Zach and Gwen, you have the options to flex it. Whereas Garen, you know he's going top lane. So interesting mans from Argonauts, both Ornn and Sion banned. So they obviously know something that we don't. Gwen looking like a flex. So Johnny picked up on blue side, followed by what looks like an Azir hover right now. What are your thoughts on Azir? I feel like Azir is a little overhyped. Has had nerfed. What do you think?
Um, he, the nerfs have been there to kind of play that effect. He still is decent when it comes to comp, but that's actually a Gragas locked in. So it looks like it's going to be a Gragas mid from Dr. Bovine Basher. He is somebody that's solid, does a lot of damage. Last night we even saw a Gragas support that was like one-shotting people just because of the amount of damage that he has currently when you do go that AP build. Another interesting pick, that is a Graves for MAS. So they do have a lot of like
Flexibility in their draft, which is
flexibility.
very interesting. Uh, Most likely, it looks like Gwenzak can solo lane and Graves can just farm in the jungle.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen a Graves solo lane, so it will be interesting. Those two big guys between, I'm guessing Zach and Graves, not Zach and Graves, Zach and Gragas in the mid lane will be something very interesting type of matchup going on. They're both going to look to kind of bop each other and throw themselves at each other. Um, Very interesting matchup and definitely interesting team comps. Because the Zac could go tank and just be a tanky frontline, or we've seen it over in the LEC, I believe it was, where there was an AP Zac mid that was just almost one-shotting people.
Yeah, I think Zach is one of those champions that have a lot of damage, um, and it's not understood by a lot of people, right? There's a lot of damage that's forgotten because people don't usually play against Zach. So if he rushes demonic, goes into radiant virtue, not only is he tanky for himself, but he's also dishing out a lot of damage because how demonic works. So going into mid lane, um, somebody in the chat said Gwen mid lane. So if that is the case, Zac into Garen seems like
That
a
might be some
little.
insider information. I don't remember. I
Yeah.
recognize that name. I don't know if they're um, connected to MAS or not, though.
Well, I will take their word for it, Maddie. And we'll see if this Gwen is actually going mid lane, and that would be very interesting. Gwen into Gragas has been a matchup that Gwen actually doesn't mind because she's able to block most of his abilities with her Shroud, and then his E is makes him melee range, which Gwen really likes to fight into. Um, but yeah, this draft is very interesting, as you said before. Both teams have equal opportunities to make play, especially with Blitzcrank. So I'm interested in seeing if they're able to
Oh,
get stuff done early, especially like a
and I did
invaders.
find a bit more. The Argonauts did have a game plan. The top three champs for OK Demon, the ADC for MAS played were Zeri, Zaya, and Twitch. So they essentially banned two and then just first picked the
The
other
other one,
one to put
right?
him at a lower comfort because he does have quite a bit of games on those 20 plus, and then it drops down to Nyla next at 11 games, and then severely less on everything else so far and ranked this year.
Well, if that's the case, that means they are recognizing that he is a threat and pushing him away from his comfort picks, which I really like, and taking away Zaya, who's actually a really good AD carry at this moment, uh, in the in league. So it'll be interesting to see not only that he's pushed away from his AD carries, but also the denial Zaya pick and how good Galaxy Fox is
Oh,
on it.
um, did you mention this? I just looked at the draft in client, and it is a Zach top and a Gwen mid.
Yeah, so the insider info was actually correct. Uh, Zach top and Gwen mid. As I said, Gwen actually does not mind that matchup going into the Gragas. So even if it was a last minute swap, it's a good pick for them. Zach on the top lane will struggle early, but he will be fine once he gets items plus some levels under his belt. On the other hand, if Graves is able to out farm Sejuani, he's gonna be out ganking and he's going to be much more damage oriented while Sejuani is playing for the team. But the biggest factor, which we cannot and will never be able to ignore, is Blitzcrank, right? His pulls are going to be really, really important. He can't pull in Zac. He won't be pulling. He won't be able to pull in Gwen. So his only target and Sivir. So his only targets are going to be Graves or Janna in most team fights, unless he can thread the needle and find somebody that's not paying attention.
And to those in the chat, I did just open up the poll. So get your votes in on who will win game one between Argonauts and MAS. It'll be exciting to see for sure how this one wraps up.
Well, you did put up the poll, but what is your vote?
Um, I honestly don't know. The MAS just like comp and the people that they picked were so interesting, but like there was the interesting aspect of the Gragas mid that you haven't really seen often. I know Faker just played it not too long ago over in the LCK, but I haven't really seen it anywhere besides jungle or top. Um, but I kind of want to go with MAS just because of the interesting team comp that they picked. But Argonauts definitely has that standard team comp. We're gonna just front to back you style, and the Gragas ult can potentially be a major factor where they can catch somebody out with that or the Blitzcrank hook with ease.
All right.
All right, but we are going to go on a short break for our spectator delay, but we will be right back. So stay tuned.
Hello, and welcome back to the game TPO Mutant Atomic Superman versus TPO Argonauts. And I'm joined by Jim, as we were before the break. Jim, take us into the game. And they're going
It
for invade.
looks like Argonauts definitely has a level 1 idea going on. They do have that advantage, which with the Blitzcrank, they can pull somebody in that's trying to run away. So they'll likely be looking for something here. But everybody on MAS mainly is on top side, so it's just the bot lane that has to be careful. As Argonauts is trying to sneak in, they are going to be spotted on that ward right by the blue buff. So MAS was able to just walk out. Looks
Yeah,
like they're looking for vision and not going to take that buff.
great discipline from MAS. We're just warding and leaving, right? They're not overstaying. They're not saying if they can spot them out and then they can leave. They're using their wards there. They have full information of Argonauts now because all 5 of them were there. So great patience. We'll have to see how their war timer is affected because both Gwen and Jenna are out of wards for another few seconds over here. So
It is something to notice as well. The whole of Argonauts was seen on that ward in that entryway by mid lane, leaving, so they do know that the buff wasn't taken. But both junglers have opted to pick up and start on top side and start pathing towards bot side.
which is interesting. If you have a silver general and you would just expect them to play it safe and farm and scale, and you would try to influence this top matchup where you have a lot of engage and a lot of tools. But it's interesting to see that Graves has decided to do a full clear into the bot side.
Good pull from Blitzcrank. The ignite's thrown out, and the flash is forced to be burned on Sivir. She's gonna have to definitely play a lot more safer after not hitting after Argonauts hit level 2 first.
Yep, not paying respect to the level 2 fighting on mid lane as well. Sivir flash burned is really big into this Blitz kind of matchup, because now, if she doesn't have a spell shield, she's in the big danger of him just flashing, Eing, or looking for a long range pull.
And the Blitzcrank and Sejuani are looking to invade the Graves onto this blue buff. Graves is knocked up, followed up by... Ooh, the Blitzcrank waited on the hook. Graves is going to go down first blood over to the Blitzcrank. Janna and Sivir roamed over to help, and Gwen is collapsing on the other side, but Gwen might be in trouble herself. She's kind of caught in between 3. She does get a kill onto the Sejuani. Galaxy Fox does show up as well to get a second kill onto the Gwen. Good rotation.
Does not miss.
No, he has been hitting those hooks hard, but that's a big issue now for that Sivir. Not only did she lose her flash and now her heal, but Xayah is sitting down in bot lane with double buffs and heal and flash.
Yeah, definitely not the ideal start that MAS was looking for. As I said, it's pretty hard to play for the side that is playing against the Blitzcrank, because as you can see, they just invaded them, and MAS didn't really have an answer for it. They weren't really prepared for it, so jungler pays for their price. Top is trading heavily.
Yeah, Garen was forced to take a turret shot off of that quick Zac launch, bouncing him under turret. He does have that passive healing. Zac's just kind of using his abilities to kind of like poke down and try to create some havoc, but currently down quite a bit of CS.
Yeah, as I said, early game would be pretty hard for Zac, since just how Garen as a champion works. Another fishing there. Barely missed the hook. Zac's going aggressive roots.
Oh, the root on Sivir, she is able to barely walk out. Meanwhile, in River, Graves is getting caught out by the Blitzcrank and Sejuani. Does dash over the wall. There's no follow through, no hook or dash over from the Sejuani to follow, so Graves is able to barely walk out. Ooh, flash
Ooh.
W by uh, Bovine on the Gragas does get a kill onto the Gwen in mid lane.
A great E flash from Bowine in the mid lane finds the kill, but amongst all of that, if you were watching, Zaya was able to 1v2 the Sever Janna lane, and that's why Graves was not able to get any help. So he limped away, he lived, but Sever did pay the price um, of the aggressive nature of this bot lane, which is really interesting because the game is just feels like it's slipping away from them
Oh,
just by this Blitzcrank.
Zach is paying a bit of disrespect. Should have seen the Sejuani, but wasn't paying attention. As the Sejuani's able to path around behind. Let's see who they're gonna gift over the kill to, and it is gonna go to Doc MF on that Garen.
As you
Not
said, not paying attention. The ward is also really close to himself, so he had a little bit, only a few seconds to spot out Sejuani, and he was not able to do so. Pays the price and loses his health in that exchange.
does
Waste.
teleport back up to make sure that he gets that CS though on the top lane. Doesn't fall too far behind.
He does not. He has the TP, but he's still pretty behind and like almost 30 CS down against this Garen, who now has the lead. And if you remember again, also has a true damage. So him building any sort of armor is not necessarily gonna help him too much in this matchup. And again, botlane cannot move up as long as Tactical has his hook. He is just fishing and making sure that they're not able to play the game. As you can see, he's switching again.
They're looking to set it up. The knock up, followed up by the hook, does land on the Janna. She is getting low. Flash forward from Galaxy does get the kill. Looks like the Gwen is roaming down up in top lane. The Garen and Zac are fighting as well. The ult comes out from the Gwen. She does get forward. OK Demon does get the shutdown and a double kill. Good roam by the Gwen to get a return, 2 return kills after that Janna went down.
Yeah,
And
only the mid lane has CS lead, while both top lane and bot lane for Argonauts is winning up in CS. So really good roam, knowing when they can leave their lane and impact their bot lane, which is already pretty behind, will help them in this game for sure, bringing Silver back into the game. Great cast going on in the mid lane just for some poke.
Alright, what item do you think is going to be built for this Gragas, though? Is it going to be the standard Everfrost? Is it going to be the Rod of Ages? What do you think he's going to go with?
With the blasting is one of the most common items for mages. It goes into so many things. Hold on a minute.
Hook by Blitzcrank does get the Graves. Looks like this is going to be just a turn for the Drake now. After catching out Graves, taking some kind of lazy pathing and just getting caught out.
Yeah, not very common if you see that. They already had vision of the bot lane and they were still not paying any respects to it. Gwen was not there to help him out or bail him out. And he just unfortunately gets caught against the Blitzcrank. You need to be more careful of the vision line that you establish and how you play around it. So definitely a little sad for them. The Zaya is getting big. Zaya already has very close to her Kraken or Gale Force, whatever she's trying to build.
Oh. Good spell shield by the Sivir to make sure that she didn't get hooked there.
This is one of those hooks where you see the reaction time, right? If you can press E or not fast enough. And Demon passes that reaction speed test. As you were saying, in the mid lane, I think he's going for Everfrost. Because also now he also has a Mana Crystal. That just means Sapphire Crystal. That just goes into Lost Chapter. So there might be an Everfrost build. I don't actually know if Everfrost is built from.
I want to say it's Lost Chapter, Kindle Gem, and then that blasting wand.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about, if the blasting power was there or not. But we'll see. It does look like he's going into some sort of lost chapter item. Not a lot of items do go for that Sapphire build path. But in the bot lane, as you can see now, they're still down 20 CS. The wave is pushing out, and they're not able to push out or walk up. Because there's always this threat of Blitzcrank, and he's walking in again.
Yeah, he's just kind of, even though that he's just melee, he is just kind of using his passive speed and the W to kind of bully them off and make sure that they aren't able to farm or anything like that. Ooh, the hook does go past Sivir, does land their second root onto this Janna. Janna does go down. Graves comes in, trying to make something. The Xayah does throw out her ult. The smite then follow up by the ult for Graves. Blitzcrank is able to hook in and get a kill, return kill onto the Graves. Gragas is here as well. The teleport was blown by the Gwen to make sure that Sivir's able to walk out. Looks like both mid laners are just okay with walking back, but no. Bovine's considering just staying around, seeing if something, but does see that he is gonna be second to lane in mid lane.
Yeah, Gwen having to burn her TP to stop Bowline from doing or achieving anything else than what the Argonauts already did. But Bowline didn't actually burn his TP, so he just walked down there and he's able to get the...
Good cask does throw Gwen for a moment underneath the turret. The flash is blown as well as the ghost. Red Eagle comes in, but the dodge from Gwen does make it so that the ult does go wide.
The ult does go wide and Gwen is able to walk out scot-free. She had her ghost already procced, so a great dodge on that Sejuani R. But as you can see, even though Gragas threw her into the turret, the Gwen could have actually killed him. He actually had to burn his flash just to live. So the matchup is showing of how strong Gwen actually is in that matchup and how the Gragas is actually have to play first. I was wrong. He's going for Rod of Ages.
Oh, but that is very interesting. I've seen it before. It is a bit more of a kind of like bruisier and as well as a little bit more AP damage on that aspect. The Blitzcrank is starting to roam here. See if he can make some more sort of impact. The Xayah is able to play a bit safe with their lead, and now that they have the Gale Force. Top lane's not truly exciting. It's mainly just like a hook down by Blitzcrank does get another kill onto the Janna. Those hooks have been landing and getting a big lead for the Argonauts bot lane.
Yeah, this is what happens when you pick an enchanter early on and you're just left with Blitzcrank. And Blitzcrank can just always pull that enchanter and it doesn't matter what AD carry you're playing because you'll never be able to play it into him. But you did say the top lane is not interesting, but as you can see, he's down almost 50 CS in that matchup.
Oh, the Herald is dropped down in bot lane. Red Eagle is caught out, can't use the blast cone to get over, so he does get the cooldown on his Q to go off, so he is able to walk out. Looks like Argonauts is trying to set up for a Drake. Another hook onto the Janna. She's stuck over the wall, but is able to flash out. These hooks are starting to create problems for MAS as they're not able to do much in return. Engaged by Gragas onto the Graves. Ult is thrown out by Sejuani. Does land onto the Gwen. She is caught trying to lifesteal up. Is getting low. Does get a kill onto the Gragas. The Graves does also re-engage and gets a second kill. A fight that started for Argonauts does end up going against their favor, but the rest of the Argonauts team does collapse on the two. The flash ult followed up by the Gale Force does get the kill onto the Gwen, and Graves is taken out by the Blitzcrank, who's now currently 4-1-4.
Interesting turn of events. I do not like how Argonauts did go mid lane and try to make a play when Dragon was up, which at the end of the day they did get a lot of kills, but it ended up costing them their bot tier 1.
Yeah, and that
So,
was first turret as well.
and the first turret. For a lane that was already losing, and now they're able to move away from the bot lane, hopefully away from this Blitzcrank's hooks. And we can only hope.
Looks like they're just settling in with matching the bot lanes and mid lane now. But Argonauts is actually looking for this second Drake for them. Graves is in no position to fight at all. Gwen does see the Blitzcrank trying to zone out, so they do know that they are there.
They're doing it on a control ward, so I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
they're aware.
didn't even
of
see
that.
that one there.
I'm sure it's just a plan for Blitzcrank to pull somebody who's trying to see, poke his head around. So they're not taking that control word. But at the end of the day, they do get the second dragon, and MAS hasn't really done anything to achieve any sort of lead. They're down 4K, and
Oh, the Graves is getting caught out. Throws out the ult to try to avoid the Blitzcrank hook, but does get knocked down. The Janet ult does get him out, but he does die to the ignite. Janet is now getting chased out, and a double kill to that Garen. A bit of disrespect by Banana Man 88. Deciding to just go and smite that Herald, not paying attention to the fact that he was essentially surrounded by Argonauts there.
that was the closest thing I've seen as the blabber flash for the crab.
Yeah.
He walks in, he smites the crab, he's trying to get away, gets instantly pulled by Blitzcrank. He even uses his ultimate and his flash. Unfortunate turn of events for MAS. The game has definitely gotten harder for them. So Jim,
Yeah.
my question to you at this point, 17 minutes into the game, the scoreline is 14-6. What do you think MAS needs to do to come back into this game?
They definitely need to scale. They do have a bit of scaling on their side. Graves does scale well into the game. Zac does get to be this tanky frontline. Sever scales well as well. They do need to play a bit safer. I don't know unless they start matching Gwen into the Garen if they have anything to match that Graves in the side lane though. We've seen time and again that Zac has blown his ult underneath his own turret. Blitzcrank looking for another hook in mid lane though. Does get spell shielded by that Sivir, so she's able to safely get out and just stay away. MAS is looking for this Herald, but Argonauts is all rotating too there. Even the Garen is on his way down.
A very bold choice, being so behind in the gold department, fighting for the Rift Herald.
Sivir is caught out and killed on her own. Now it's currently a 4v5. The Gwen did teleport in, but another hook lands onto the Zac, who is ulted by the Garen to blob for him. Garen's still looking in. They're chasing down the rest of MAS. Gwen's still looking for a return kill. Banana Man is able to get that return kill. Galaxy Fox is somewhat caught out there as he's forced to blow his ult after stepping too far forward looking for that Janna and getting some damage dealt to him by the Gwen and Graves.
So an objective that was started by MAS ended up going towards Argonaut, but not only did the objective go towards them, they were also able to pick up some extra kills on the side. As I said, a very bold choice going for a Rift Herald on Vision and not being so behind in gold. Sivir gets caught instantly, and then the 5-4 tactical is amazing on these hooks. Finds another hook on Zac, gets him into this Garen's range. Garen just ults him into blobs, as you said, and the game's looking dire every minute. I would only say that because Xayah also scales like a monster, and so Garen's true damage is undeniable for the enemy comp because nobody realistically can actually stop it except Gwen, right? But Gwen is so behind and Garen is so ahead. It might be really hard for them to go and fight for dragons, fight for objectives, fight for Baron. So definitely agree with you when you said they have to slow down the game and look for opportunity when they can fight. Another hook is getting fished, not able to throw it.
No, the Sivir there was just able to back off, but looks like Argonauts is looking to drop Herald mid with that last second outer turret for them. Does not land the charge, did take some damage from the Sivir though. They're looking for maybe to break the tier 2 in mid as well before this Drake spawns. Sivir is able to kill it, so it was just the one charge and not the actual turret.
Oh, before the dragon spawns 15 seconds, let's take account of the items, right? And if MAS can even actually try to fight this dragon, which I think is going to be really hard. Xayah already had 2 items on the very quick blade. Top lane already on 2 items with his Deadmans and his Shredebreaker. So I think going into this fight, I think MMS should just either try to steal or not fight at all. But it looks like they're taking the fight.
They are looking for the fight here. Zac does go in. The Sejuani gets the smite secure. But fight continues, but it looks like MAS are actually winning this one. The Sivir steps too far forward. It does get killed by the Garen ult, but Zac is able to get onto the Xayah and shut her down. It's currently a 2-for-1. Looks like potentially a 3-for-1 as Red Eagle is called out on the Sejuani. A good fight for MAS. Unfortunately, it did result in the Drake going over to Argonauts, so, unfortunately. So they are sitting pretty at 3 Drakes to none. Going straight for Soul.
Casting. As soon as I said they shouldn't fight this, they went fight, and then I cast the cursed Argonauts.
It's always what happens.
It's always what happens. That's interesting. But surprisingly enough, MAS was able to fight that fight and able to get some kills for themselves. Not the end of the world, but they did lose the dragon, which is a soul point. So next dragon that spawns will be the soul for Argonauts, and MAS, whether ready or not, they would have to fight it. Especially because it's an Infernal Soul, and Infernal Soul on Xayah. Actually, anybody on that team, Infernal Soul is really, really good. Even Blitzcrank can have healthy if he lands a hook on you with an Infernal Soul. But Sivir is scaling up. We did point it out.
Sivir's about to get caught out though. The Stride Breaker from the Garen, he is just spinning on top of her. The shield does prevent the ult, but the Dr. Bovine does slide in with the Gragas ult to secure the kill onto the Sivir, which is a big issue as the whole of Argonauts is here at the Baron as Zac is split pushing bot lane with no teleport.
True. As I said, again, caster curse, that's where I was saying she's doing really good scaling up and getting those 2 items, but as soon as I say that, she died.
And this Graves is not able to get into the pit from the Blitzcrank and Gragas. They're trying to get out, but they're kind of stuck there. The Gwen was forced to blow her ult just to get Argonauts to walk away. Meanwhile, Zac is trying to apply that damage down bot lane onto that turret, but doesn't even get half a turret.
Does not get half of the turret and does not accumulate to any pressure drawn with his TP down. I think the best move would have been to send Gwen bottom lane and to send Zac top lane. Good identification from Argonauts saying that Zac does not have TP and they can actually go for that Baron play. So yeah, great map awareness and good job for taking the Baron. Garen's looking to take the bot tier 1 with his Baron buff, while the other 4 people will take the mid tier 2.
The hook is thrown out and dodged by that Gwen though. So Blitzcrank hook is down. Not able to push any way forward.
Zac is now doing the same thing, but on the top lane, he still does not have that TP, which means he's not going to be able to join the fight, but this time Garen is also split pushing. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to defend this mid tier 3.
I don't know if I like this Zac split pushing. He is a tank and a really good engage for MAS. You saw at the last dragon fight, he was a big thing. He had that flank from behind the dragon pit that did allow them to get that team fight win. And he's just kind of split pushing away. Doesn't have great split push potential. Um, kind of slow pushes and currently doesn't have his mythic, so it is
Looks
something
like
that
he's
he's working
waiting.
to. Yeah, he's definitely waiting to see who wants to say hello to that cannon minion. Goes in, throws out the Q, but it just goes wide of the Graves. Gragas ult is also thrown out. Graves steps forward. Now
Oh, Shivani
Sejuani ult. The Graves does get finally pulled by the Blitzcrank. Gwen does go in. Graves is already blown up. They're trying to return the damage. Huge damage by Gwen. But this Zaya is able to get a huge root call and take down 3 in a quadra kill as well.
amazing fight for Argonauts. Everybody's setting up Galaxy Fox for success. It, as you said, a huge root collar, and all four of them were just standing in there, not paying respect to that Zaya feathers. But the fight did start off pretty good for MAS. The ground finding a lot of damage, but again, as I said, in that damage they were also a little overconfident blocking it. Zac just jumped in, gets cold instantly. That is actually
That's
pretty
so.
insane. That
Oh
Zac
no.
can never actually jump into Blitzcrank because Blitzcrank just pulled him through air.
And they're now Argonauts is looking to just turn and take the soul. They just took that bot inhib. They're starting to slowly make their way out, but this is already gone. There's no chance of them getting there. Graves doesn't even path towards it. He just goes top.
Yeah,
Um,
with their 9k goal, 8k goal lead almost, um, they should just be able to close out this game. They can have Garen split push top lane and force their mid inhibitor. So, is there any chance for MAS to come back? Do you think there's a miracle about to
um,
happen where they fight, get a good engage with Zac?
I don't see it happening. The Gwen does have a lot of damage, but like what we had seen in that last fight, she threw down her shield that she has to kind of negate the range damage, but the second it wore off, Galaxy Fox was just able to do the root call, pull those feathers back, and just almost one-shot their entire team. Um, it will be like a miracle play to get them in. Um, maybe as a 5-man they can do something, but I don't know what damage they have. Um,
Well, Zaya did go mid lane just now, so maybe there's an
yeah.
opportunity for a 4v5. But Argonauts does pay respect. Walk away when your ADK is not near you guys. Pushing mid lane, Zaya, and they're pushing top lane as two-man, it seems like, Gragas and Garen.
Oof.
Ooh,
Flash is blown
another.
by the Graves there to get away from that Blitzcrank hook that could have potentially just led to his death and the end of the game. Does have to play careful. Zac is pulled in. The Zaya and Janna all are blown to kind of prevent anyone from going down. Saber's having a hard time trying to fight these super minions down bot lane. Brought down to quarter health.
Yeah, and you would not expect her to be actually hurt fighting super minions
Oh,
like
this is a bit of an overstep. Defending a turret that they did not need to defend. Graves and Gwen go down instantly. Zac blows his ult trying to get out and flash.
they have super
Um,
minions pushing the front lane. Great is on the R.
Great Sejuani R to get the Sivir as well. This looks to be GG for game 1 to Argonauts. As the 5-man group is just pushing down top side. They have the super minions in bot side as well. I don't think there's anything that this Zac and Janna can do to do anything.
Absolutely not, it seems. I think going into game 2, MAS needs to go back to drawing board, needs to think about what they actually need to change. I think the Garen needs to go, the Blitzcrank needs to be not in the game. Tactical Baptism was absolutely insane on those
Yeah.
hooks. Was not giving any breathing room to MAS, and from minute one actually, right? They were able to invade, not get any kills, but they got vision. They were able to back up, and after they saw the Graves bot lane on his blue, they were able to invade again, and they were able to find him there, get us a kill, and then walk away. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think those two changes need to be made. What do you think while we wait for the game two?
I definitely think it is something that um, if the Zach's gonna, if their MAS's top laner is gonna split push, they definitely need to um,
Yeah, split
get
pusher.
him somebody off of somebody that's not going to be so impactful on that side lane split push.
Yep.
Because that was kind of like the downfall. He was split pushing so much when he had that better team fight champion. But we are going to go on to a brief break so that we can get set up for game two. But we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We are currently going into the draft for game two. There's going to be a brief delay as some of the players are taking bathroom breaks, but it is currently 1-0 in Argonauts' favor. Very interesting um, matchup between the two teams. Um, MAS kind of fell behind early and then just stayed behind for that game. What do you think can be done, or what do you think should be the difference in the drafts for game two?
So looking back at the game one draft, I think, as I said, Blitzcrank needs to go. They have to ban it out. They probably also need to ban out Garen, just how um, confident Doctor MF is on it, and just how easy it is for him to play that champion unless you have something another thing that's can play into Garen, because as we saw throughout the game, Garen was pushing into Gazag and he was able to always get priority. He was even like diving him, right? He was losing most of his health only when he dove the turret. So it's a bit interesting that he was let through in game one and so was Blitzcrank. So I think I want to see that banned, both of those champions.
Yeah,
And since MAS did take blue side, I want to see them take one of their AD carries. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see um, if Argonauts just change up and just ban the 380 carries straight off the bat so they don't get the Zaya, or if they're going to leave something up and just go and say, hey, play one of your normal picks. Um, because
right.
it is something that both ADCs are comfortable on. So they might just not ban and see who picks who going forward. Um, apparently, not only does Argonauts fight as a single unit, but Argonauts also goes to the bathroom as a single unit, as their entire team does take a bathroom break before this game. Before this game too, they are starting this pick ban phase now. It
Yeah,
will be
let's see.
interesting to see these bans change up. And there's the
There's a Blitzcrank.
Blitzcrank ban that we were looking at was heavily impactful in that laning phase. Did get a lot of kills um, onto that Janna. Argonauts banning the Zeri once again. So they are pinching down OK Demons. ADC pool. Tristana comes out from MAS. So it looks like they're just changing that first
One leg.
ban.
Right.
Twitch is
Same
banned
man's
as well.
same man's from Argonauts though, Twitch and Zeri. Interesting to see what the band third on the MAS side. I'm hoping for Garen, and there is a Garen. Um, I think good adaptations from MAS,
And
banning out the most impactful champions. And as you said, they banned all 380 carries.
yep, they just go forward and say, hey, we understand that you aren't entirely comfortable. So we're keeping you off of those where you can make the biggest impact. But that is going to be a first pick Scion. So that's going to be a big tanky front line. That is currently popular across like almost all the regions. Um, they right now it's still staying that kind of top lane tank. Give me a tank, let me play tank. I'll stand there and just be that wall in between that teams are liking.
Interesting. Once again, I'm interested because they picked a top laner in the first three. Um, which again, in my opinion, is a little bit weird, I want to say, because it's now so easy for Argonauts to draft, right? They already see Sion. Sion goes top lane. Even if they don't pick Kai'Sa Thresh here, they could have picked a counter to top lane. But now they can hold their top laner for third pick and give the counter to jungle, or perhaps. Um, so basically, everybody on Argonauts should be getting a counter. They did choose to pick Kai'Sa and Thresh, exposing their bot lane super early, and it's followed up by Jarvan Asol, the two champions that were banned last game and are led through this game.
Here. Very interesting pick so far. There is a lot of potential and a lot of long range engage. Cyan ult, Jarvan flag and drag followed up by his ult to lock people down. Very safe bot lane for Argonauts as well. Thresh able to kind of get Kai'Sa out if she dives in too far. Shen is picked up for Doc MF up at top lane, one of his popular picks so far
Yeah,
this year. With Garen being down, he's been playing a lot of that. I've seen.
he was banned last game, so they did choose to ban Garen this time and leave Chen open. So we'll have to see how good Dr. MF is on it, his Shen pick, as you say. But I've actually, going back to the point, I've never seen a bot lane being picked B45. So it'll be interesting what they
Yeah.
decide to pick here.
And it's very interesting since they just turned around and banned another 80 carry. Look, banned 580 carries. We don't want OK Demon to play this game. Just sub him out, put in another player or support or whatever. Just he's not playing.
You know what? Do you know what you should do at this point? I think Kobe. Um, at this point,
Alt
you
to
guys
F4.
play. No, I mean you could, but let's be honest. You could alt F4 and you say I'm not playing anymore. But also you could play Seraphine Sona and
Oh,
say,
true.
"Ha, in your face! You can't ban me out playing the most broken APC in the game." Oh, there goes Elise, not banned.
Oh, yeah, the least wasn't banned. It is a bit of a squishy front line for Argonauts. They got a kind of tank in the Thresh and then Shen. Um, Technically, if the Scion wants to, it can split push into that Shen. Sooner or later, he'll just start bullying the Shen and not really caring. Um,
Yeah, interesting um, to see the different playstyles coming out from Red Eagle. He was on Sejuani first game, and now he's playing Elise. So we'll have to see how he turns around his gameplay from being a tank to being the aggressive one. And before Jinx, there, I guess he had an AD carry in his sample
yeah.
after getting 5 banned, as 6 banned because they also banned an AD carry. We'll have to see what the support is wanting to. Rel is the choice. Real Jinx. A lot of lockdown from MS's side. So Elise will obviously have a hard time into this comp because not only is MS a little tankier, they also have a ton of CC. Azir hovered again. Let's see if he actually picks it, or does the Doctor Bowine Basher pick Alistar? He does not. He locks in Azir. So I guess this is our draft. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Once again, kind of like the basic team fight comp for Argonauts. They do have a bit of like the pick potential with the Elise trying to getting an angle with that cocoon and quickly blowing up somebody like the Jinx. Um, there's a lot of frontline though on MAS, and depending on what type of Jarvan he goes, he can go that bruiser frontline with the Gore Drinker. I tried it out myself. Lethality Jarvan is something to kind of worry about, especially for those squishies. Does a lot of damage, especially if he gets ahead, where it's surprising amount of damage. So that might be like a third damage carry with that Rel and Scion frontline to kind of give Reliant Soul um, a more impact on there. Definitely makes it easier for that Aurelion Soul ult if he ults on top of where the Rel or the Driving ults as well.
Absolutely. Also, Aurelion Sol really likes a team comp that allows him to be able to freely dish out his damage. Because, in my opinion, I think Asol has probably the best DPS in the game at this point in time. Because once he gets his items, once he gets his things that he needs, like Roa, like Seraphs, Rallies, he is unstoppable. His Q is practically 0 second cooldown, and you can channel it for a really long time. So if his team allows him or like locks somebody down for him, which is really good with Rel Ultimate, his own E, and then Jarvan Walls. So if they're able to find a team fight where ASOL is able to dish out his damage freely, they'll be in a really good spot. Same goes with Jinx. If Jinx is untouched in a team fight, she'll be able to carry team fights all by herself. One of the best hyper carries in the game. So they have the scaling with Asol and Jinx. They have the lockdown with Jarvan and Rel, and then they have the tankiness and the front line that's always going to be present. It's always going to be a problem, especially because Argonauts does not have a lot of sustainable damage. Only Kaisa and Azir are only source of damage for Sion when it comes to late game team fights, And if either of them get caught, as the CC we were talking about, then Scythe is practically unkillable. Elise is not going to be able to kill him. Ken is not going to be able to kill him. And Thresh is not going to be able to push him too far away because he's a walking fortress.
Yeah, the Scion is going to be something to watch out on to see how well he starts scaling health-wise in that early game. Might be something that the Elise looks to gank early to try to keep him down, where he's weak early on. But he may just turn and do what they did last time and just kind of picked on that bot lane and did that early invade into the jungle to make the jungler kind of pay for um, just existing and not having that pressure early on. It
Yeah,
was,
but this time also he has Jarvan and not Graves, so he can be the one actually pressuring. Like his all three of his lanes are, in my opinion, weaker. So he has the opportunity to either go make easy ganks because the other team will be pushed in, or he can defend himself by invading the Elise 1v1 and or like just hovering around his laners to help him from a dive. So he's not as weak as Graves game one. But it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how as I said, they're not playing Sejuani on Red Eagle, they're playing Elise. So even he has to be more aggressive.
yeah, definitely needs to see a bit more aggression, but she's going to need some of that gold too. So she might end up taking kills where the kills could potentially go over to somebody else. We'll give her that damage, but it's kind of have to play that balancing game in the long run of like who gets what kill. Do we give Elise the early kills, or are we trying to kind of trying to split them all? But we are going to go on a short break as we wait for the spectator delay. So I will have the poll up in just a moment for the game 2 vote, but we will be right back.
Hello and welcome back to TPO MAS versus TPO Argonauts. Game number two. Game number one going to Argonauts, and we'll have to see what happens in game number two as the crowd vote goes to MAS. That I can just see.
30 seconds until
Looks like
minions
Argonauts is
spawn.
doing another level 1 invade as a 5-man group. Um, they do kind of set it up ahead of time. Um, there looks to be some sort of delay. Banana Man did not get out that early, or no, he recalled. Placed his ward and then recalled. Looking to start that top side again. Looks like
Minions
both
have
junglers
spawned.
are going to start top side again and look to rotate down towards that bot side to make an impact there.
Interestingly, Banana Man did put down his own ward on his buff and reset, but did not get an Oracle lens. On the other hand, Red Eagle started with an Oracle lens, so it'll be interesting on how this actually impacts their gank patterns, because Eagle will be able to get the vision, and Banana Man will not be able to do that. And as you said, they're both junglers opting to start topside, passing towards our bot lane. Um, Interesting to see. They're not trying to put, at least is not trying to put the fire behind as you were um, suggesting. How do you feel about that?
Um, it is very interesting. She's looking to essentially 3 camp and then go for a gank here. Not entirely sure she's going to get much out of it unless the bot lane starts playing a little bit less aggressive, as they've been pushing in that bot lane of MAS so far.
Yeah, it does not look like the bot lane and the Lease were on the same.
Hook is
Hook.
thrown out by big stun by the Rel. Does get a lot of damage onto the Kaisa, who is forced to blow her heal. So it does look like MAS's bot lane is getting the better of the two this time around, after being bullied in game 1.
Right, predicting the Hook champion and champ selection, picking it Rel. I guess this is a good counter
Another
to.
engage. They're looking for the Kaisa. The flash EQ Q does get the first blood onto the Jarvan. The Elise does show up, is here, but is late. Looks like they're able to just walk away. The cocoon was thrown out, but doesn't land on anyone.
Both junglers opting to do a 4 camp to a bot gank, but Elise was slower than Jarvan, which generally happens because Jarvan has a really good passive that does max health damage on his first attack. So, interestingly, Red Banana Man on this time was able to read the same sort of game plan and was able to meet Elise in the bottom lane, um, getting himself the first blood, which is really good for Jarvan.
Meanwhile, top lane, Alien Soul does have a bit more of a push that he did not have in game 1. Is bullying down Doc MF a bit more. Doc MF is able to get some return damage, but not much. Does have that CS lead, but
The wave is coming into Sion, so he will be able to manage the CS a little bit. And as you can see in the mid lane, Azir's just having a field day against this Asol. He's able to poke him out and has more mana than him at this point of time. So interesting game from both teams at this moment. Both junglers looking to go up top again, while Shen freezes his lane.
very interesting setup. The Thresh hooks are still landing, not so often as the Blitzcrank hooks this time around. This Rel does look to be like an improvement so far over the Janna this game. I think Scourge just wanted to kind of be able to do more, engage more this time. The Flash Cocoon does land onto the Asol that's forced to blow his flash to get out.
Forced flash, so Red Eagle needs to come back in 5 minutes and make sure that his own flash was not wasted by blowing Asol's flash, because Asol as a champion is a really safe champion because he can just W away, and Azir not having any sort of CC in his kit except his ultimate, which is hard to get on. Asol is generally pretty safe in that matchup because he can just run away. But yeah, as you were saying, the Rel pickup is actually really good for two reasons. Is she can counter engage every time Thresh goes in, so she can just play bodyguard to Jinx forever. But then again, Rel Q destroys shield. So when
Yeah.
Shen ults bot lane, she can just destroy that shield, and his ult is just Shen coming down, and not actually helping tank any damage, which is really
Something
good.
to
Not
point
for-
out right now, though. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah.
The Elise did try to return for another gank, but there was a good ward by the Asol to kind of ward that off, which allowed the Jarvan to sneak into Dragon Pit and take first Drake.
First Drake, that's infernal, and it's big for them because Jinx and Asol love the damage from the damage percentage that Infernal Soul gives you. So yeah, I think this Elise picks right now is not seeming good to me, since she's not being able to press the issue on any of the lanes, especially the bottom lane, since Rel's playing the bodyguard forever.
Yeah. Definitely does have a lot of protection, that bot lane. I think that Jarvan is expecting the Elise to make a gank here. Is hovering around bot lane. Elise does come in with the hook. Both flash hook does land onto the Jinx. Jinx does go down. Flag and drag by Jarvan. The Shen ult does come out as well. Another hook lands onto the Rel. She's tanking and is able to walk away. They're looking to put on some pressure here, but meanwhile, Sion's up in top lane, applying more. Another hook lands onto the Jarvan, who's forced to flag and drag out, does barely make it. The Rel and Jarvan are still alive. Teleport top by the Shen to kind of stop the push by Sion, who's able to take 2 turret plates. Meanwhile, the Elise is looking for more. The W out from the Rel does get her out of the way of the cocoon. As the Argonauts are forced to kind of back off. Meanwhile, top lane, the Shen, who returned via teleports, just thrown out. Damage back and forth between the Sion and him.
Right, amazing 2 minutes for Argonauts. They were not only able to get a kill onto the Jinx, but they were also able to like play more aggressively in the bot lane, and that flash hook was what it started everything, right? It was also prediction, so it also looked really good onto that, and they didn't lose too much in the top lane because that Shen did have a TP. So next time he does that and he does not have a TP, Sion's just gonna split push to the end.
Yeah, he's gonna be taking turns heavy. I believe he has demolition, which allowed him to take that. Jarvan's looking to come top, try to make a play. Is on a ward, so Shen just backs off. Likely
A
gonna...
terrible position for Shen to back out because his wave is pushing out a prime location to be frozen on, and Shen does not have TP to come back to lane fast. It'll be interesting to see what Alien Soul is able to do with that lane if he opts for a back for himself, but he does not. I think he's just pushing the wave from what I can see in the minimap. Yep, he did not freeze it, so
just push
a
the
little
wave.
happy dudes for Shen.
Did miss out on a little bit of CS there. Sion, who was behind in the early game, is now essentially tied in CS after that Shen play bot lane.
Yeah,
They did spot out the Elise on Vision, so they do know where she is. Jarvan is kind of providing some aid in case the Elise looks for something mid. The Azir does ult in. The flash is blown by the Asol. An ult goes out and the flag and drag. Shen did roam down from topside as they're looking for more. Shen ult dashes in to get onto this Asol, who's getting forced to walk away. Shen flashes forward to get the kill, and then is trying to walk out. Does barely make it out of turret range with his health though. Good roam by him to help get that kill in the mid lane, and some pressure onto the turret for Azir. Who
Great
missed
roam,
Flay from the Shen. Does kind of get him into a bad situation, but now the Rel is in a bad situation as well, as it's a trade of the supports in bot lane. Both 80 carries left. The Kai'Sa does get a lot of damage down in return. Currently a level up on the Jinx, who did blow her ult in that fight.
constant fighting between both of those teams. Shen was able to rotate down mid lane, help out, and the Asol kill had to burn his flash.
1v1, Shen ult does come down. The heal is blown. Flash is also blown by the Kai'Sa. Shen, the Jarvan ult to lock down the Shen, but the Elise is there to return. The taunt in by the Shen does lock down the Jarvan for a secondary kill. There.
I think if Jarvan didn't go in, like Shen would have just lost his entire lane just off of that. But Jarvan did go back in, donated them a kill. Feels good for
Shen
Argonauts,
might
but they
lose
will
turret
top.
here.
Yeah, they would lose top turret. Shen was actually walking back top. As I said, that he did not have TP from the initial ult play, and now he had to ult again and had a roam in the mid lane. So now he loses his whole turret before 14 minutes in the game.
Yeah, he's gonna be tank. That Sion's gonna be tanky. He's got 5 plates on him, so he's gonna be scaling as well as the Aurelion Soul. You can already see that Aurelion Soul is okay with standing there, as well as the Azir just kind of looking at each other, throwing damage back and forth. Argonauts is rotating for the second Drake, while MAS is looking for that Herald now, but he might get stopped by the Shen coming down. Aurelion Soul does rotate to the Herald, looking to collapse on this Shen. Taunts out the ult by the Aurelion Soul to not lock him up, as well as the E. But Argonauts has rotated up to try to fight for this Herald. It is now resetting. Sion ults in the Q, the hook from Thresh and ult to throw them out. Try getting away. The hook just goes wide of the Aurelion Soul as MAS backs off from a 4v3.
4v3, Thresh was roaming after the dragon, so bot lane was just 1v2. I'm surprised they were not able to get more than just, I think, a play at this point, or 2 at max, especially because it was a 2v1. They could have actually
You're looking to
built the
dive. The teleport comes in. There isn't a very interesting miscommunication in that bot lane by MAS. Rel went in, but the Jinx just kept autoing the turret.
Yeah, Jinx did not seem to be on the same page, was not trying to make any fight happen, but Rel decided otherwise, and now Shen goes in with a taunt. Again, the problem with this is that Shen is losing a lot more XP on the map, and a lot more farm, right? They can't take the farm away from Kai'Sa, and they can't give Shen something, also EXP either. So now Shen has to walk all the way top just to hold the turret, and he's gonna be 2 levels down.
Flag and drag and ult does force the flash out there from the Thresh to get out. Good attempt by the Jarvan, but doesn't get much out of it.
The difference between top laners, 2k gold lead almost for that Sion. Bot laners are pretty much dead even, and mid laners are 700 gold on that Azir, and jungle is also pretty much even. So as you can see, worst case scenario for Argonauts is that Shen is just a walking health bar for that team, but the best case scenario for MAS is that the Sion gets the split push. scot-free because nobody can actually answer him from that team. And if they do, they like if at this point Sion can just 1v1 that Shen, and nobody can actually influence that matchup. If Azir ever goes to do that matchup, then they lose a lot of DPS, and then Shen. That's why you pick Shen for like side laning, right? Because they can ult you onto you, um, so it helps you a lot. But not in this game.
The one thing to notice though, due to Shen just not being in lane, there's currently no stacks on the Heartsteel for Saya. So that's, I guess, an added bonus so far for
That's one way to deny actual
Argonauts.
I will give you.
Yeah, is they're not having the stacks, but Shen's get caught out. The Azir does prevent the Ace ult coming, but flash for flash after the Ace ult does go down mid. So trade of flashes and ults on these two mid laners, and that kind of skirmish around the Herald.
Even in that exchange, Sion was not able to get any sack from the Shen, so he's still on 0. And I would have liked to see Jarvan not take that Herald and give it to Sion, since Sion's pushing so much pressure on the side lane. Where if he has the Herald and they go for a team fight on the other side of the map, he can just probably take an inhibitor at this point.
Yeah. Rell's stepping
reducing
forward to kind of
to
play
Saya.
that front line, but I don't know if she's tanky enough to deal with the Leandries of the Azir.
Definitely, Azir is also one of those notorious champions that can just fly away if you go into them. Dr. Bowa and Basher definitely have those skills to EQ away in time as a reaction test. But so far the game is pretty steady, and as far as scaling goes, both teams have similar scalings. Jinx, Kaisa scale really good. Asol, Azir scale really good. The only difference at this point that I can see is that Sion is much more tankier, much more stronger, and is up a lot of gold on the Shen. So, if anything were to happen, if the teams were to go even, I would prefer MAS's side just because Sion and he's really strong at the moment. But seems like MAS is not opting for a team fight even on Dragon.
Oh. The Jinx does walk in and face checks the Kaisa. Does get a lot of poke damage from her. Teleport's coming out from the Sion to join them. As he ults immediately. The good repel from the Elise does make sure that she doesn't get hit. The front
Great
line
repel.
is going out. The Rel does go in, only gets the support, does get shut down. The Jarvan ult in, followed up by the Aurelion Soul ult. The Shen does ult trying to get to save his teammate, but isn't able to. The Aurelion Soul is just dealing a ton of damage with a triple kill. And a double kill followed up by the Jinx. A team fight that didn't start off too well for MAS ends up going in their favor. As Shen just ults immediately in front of the Jinx, who was able to just tear him down with that Kraken Slayer. And the third Drake of the game goes over to MAS. And a messy fight by both sides, but a big Aurelion Soul onto multiple people in the backline does get him a triple kill.
An absolutely interesting fight is what I would like to put it as. As you saw, there was a bit of a miscommunication in the beginning. Rel died for nothing, was able to not get a lot from her ult and her jump in, but then was followed up by Jarvan, who was also not able to get anything but some damage. And after that, Asol, Sion, and Jinx were just able to crush that fight. Especially that Asol, who was able to go and eliminate the low health target pretty easily, was able to reset his W, was able to fly out and do more damage. Seems like if they don't kill this Asol, he's going to be a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Now they're pushing up in the mid lane. 4-man push against an Azir.
Trying to just get that first in tier 1. Thresh and Kaisa looking for the Jinx down in bot lane. Ooh, unfortunately, the Thresh does take the shutdown gold. would have been big for that Kaisa there. Shen did blow his teleport to get to mid. The Scion does ult in, trying to get something out of here. Shen, the Ace Soul ult does lock down the Shen as well. It doesn't look like they're able to get more, as the Azir does blow his passive to kind of add that protection in mid lane. Flash in by the Azir does get a big pushback with the ult, does get the Rel. The Ace Soul is forced to try to get over the wall, but does get followed by the Sand Shoulders as well as the Elise. Now the Jarvan is caught out by the Thresh, and so is the Scion, as 2 kills go over to the Elise there. Thresh does step forward, does get killed by the Jinx, who's now trying to kind of put forward, but she is snared by the Elise. Flashed by Galaxy Fox to get out of the turret range so that he doesn't go down himself. But in a fight that started up by MAS, ends up giving over 5 kills and 2 turrets. But Galaxy Fox here is going to get caught out by that Aurelion Soul and shut down. Poor pathing by him, and a double kill by the Aurelion Soul, who's able to chase down.
Definitely a good play by the Azir to start off that fight. An amazing Shurima Shuffle. I think he gets 4 of them in that Shurima Shuffle, and they were able to clean that up, and then the fight followed through so late that the Ace-Hole died, had TP, and was able to TP and get the double kill.
This
So
is a
overall
brutal play.
good for MAS.
MAS just
quite
took
good.
2 people, took down the damage dealers, and went immediately towards this Baron. The
that's it.
Elise is
Ace-Hole
kind of
good.
getting forced to kind of try to go in and smite steal. The smite does go down, but the Elise still goes underneath. The Shen taunts in as well. He is blocked up and locked down by the Jarvan, who makes it so that he can't get out of the pit with that lantern. 2 people go down in a fight at Baron after Baron's already taken.
As you saw, that Ace-Hole DPS on that objective is nothing to be scoffed at. Both damage dealer, as you pointed out, were dead before the Baron fight even started because Ace-Hole was able to TP in and find them. Definitely, they have the money where it needs to be. Jinx and Ace-Hole both really fed, both really strong. It's a little bit unfortunate to see Jinx not going IE second and going Phantom Dancer instead. Just because how far the enemy team is, Phantom Dancer, you need to auto attack a few times to get that passive going, to move that, to be able to kite in team fights. But so far, she's either killed people super fast or died in team fight. So I think having more damage would have been definitely a good move, but it's definitely not a bad move. She can go third item, i.e. which seems to be the case. She already has the pickaxe. Jarvan playing for the team, has Black Cleaver, has his Go Drinker, is a great front line. And that Shen is still playing for the team, level 12 to level 13 on that Scion, which is a bit interesting. As the game goes on, Scion's just gonna have more items in team fights.
Yeah. Looks like Argonauts is trying to set up for this 4th Drake now. Get anything. MAS is able to kind of walk in. Shen is somewhat caught out here in the corner, as MAS just kind of walks in, noticeable push in the mid lane. Looks like Argonauts is looking to just give this Drake go. It's not soul. We're just gonna march down and take this mid inhib turret instead.
That seems to be the call, but they don't have minions, and there's a Baron buff on MAS, so they're able to get back to the turret relatively fast. So Argonauts, who had the priority on the dragon side, were not able to capitalize, were not able to get a pick, and they decided to go mid and were not able to get anything from that play either. So overall, a net negative, if I were to look at it, and 5 men strong MAS pushing mid lane.
And the Shen's forced to blow his ult to kind of make it so that they can't just march in and take this mid tier 2. And the Azir does blow his ult. Shen dashes in, but doesn't land anything. The Thresh
Both
Hook
TPs
does
going
land
down.
onto the Jarvan. Shen's getting torn apart by that Aurelion Soul.
Definitely.
A
He
good
already has
shuffle
the
does get
Zardes.
the Jinx, but the Jinx ult flashes out. Big ult by the Aurelion Soul, followed up by the Scion ult. The Thresh goes down. Galaxy Fox is locked up by the Jarvan in the corner. Black and Drag does get another kill. They do get the kill onto the Scion, but once again the Shen goes down, and now followed up is Red Eagle on the Elise. Only Dr. Bovine is up as the damage dealers, and as only person to go down for MAS is that Scion. Massive play
Definitely.
started off by a good shuffle by Bovine to get Jinx out, but the flash and then just the follow-up to protect was able to get them allow them to stay alive and just return the damage. But now everybody's respawning, and it might be a little bit too long of a wait, but they're able to finally lock out.
Great try from Tactical Flash View. Was not able to find Banana Man because he also flashed to dodge that hook. Um, Overall, I think MAS is sitting really happy in this game, already taking out an inhibitor and taking out one Nexus turret. Jinx is just huge at this point, is really close to her Infinity Edge, and the Aesol already has his 3 items so far. If you just see team fights, he's demolishing people. It doesn't matter if it's a Shen, it doesn't matter if it's a Kai'Sa, he does a lot of damage, so you can't have him be alive in a team fight. So if Argonauts has any hope of coming out, they need to get these picks. They need somebody straggled on the side where they can't join a team fight or something like that. They have to find opportunities. Otherwise, MAS is just gonna take over. Play a simple game.
Yeah, and MAS is looking to set up that top lane push right before Baron is up. Aurelion Soul's down bot side, but he does have that teleport, so it does look like they did learn from their mistakes from game one. A much different performance from them, especially those carries where they were kind of outmatched in game one, but are definitely putting on a showing. Aurelion Soul is heavily impactful, as well as the Jinx, just able to put out the damage, able to get out of sticky situations at times that they weren't able to previously. The hook onto this Scion does get a lot of damage, but he's just so tanky. They're able to pull through the Scion. Bovine Basher does dash and ults in, but the Jinx just stands tall and is able to get return kills. Jungle and 80 carry for Argonauts versus the jungle and mid laner. I don't know if I want to fight this for the Argonauts, as there's minions now pushing into their base. The Jarvan and Aurelion Soul are seeing what they can find. Gonna take this red buff. Big fight on both sides. Dr. Bovine Basher's been landing these ult heavy, trying to get his team back into it. Been doing a lot, but that was the second one in a row where he landed it directly onto that Jinx. The Jinx was able to just put out enough damage to make it so that it was an even fight before going down, and the Aurelion Soul was just able to clean up everything else.
Yep, definitely good showing from Bovine Basher. Unfortunately, his team is lacking a lot of damage. The Scion lives way too long, even when he got first hooked. And nobody from Argonauts was able to follow up.
Thresh steps up and takes out a lot of damage. Oh, bad ult. Massive ults by the Rel and Jarvan does lock down a lot of the team. The Jinx is able to just shred through the rest of their team as a quadra kill goes over to Jinx.
They're
looking for
the
Penta to see if they can give it over. I know it's something that they want. They're looking at it going like, you banned 5 champs against me and I'm still showing up. Get your butt over here. This is my Penta now.
And there goes Penta. Penta kill for Jinx. Okay, team and showing up and showing off in game number two, bringing his team back from this series 1-0 to now 1-1. Um, Speechless. Actually, having 580 carries banned from the enemy team and then 180 carry banning yourself and then picking the sixth 80 carry. How would you feel
I
getting
don't
that ban back?
know that I would feel completely great after that game. It was definitely something that he was in control of the game. The Reliant Soul, the mid lane, Baby Cod was severely different that game. Um, OK Demon was phenomenal after absorbing essentially all of the pressure um, between the two teams onto him. Just I don't know if Argonauts can afford to do that a second game in a row of just hyper focusing onto the ADC of MAS.
Exactly. I think game number two was definitely a, a major um, morale boost for MAS. I think not only did they face the five bans, they were also a bit. It was bot centric game, right? Both junglers were in the bot lane, so coming out of on top for Okadim, I think the Blitz ban was actually the best, right? Because he was able to be unleashed in this game. He was not like he was not worried about those random hooks coming, pulling him towards the enemy team. This time, not only did they ban the Blitzcrank, but this time he had a rel, right? A rel that could tank that hook, a rel that could go in. So
Yeah,
as you can see in the last team fight, he was just unleashed. Nobody was hitting him. The Elise was trying to mark Asol, was trying to kill Asol on the side, while he was just free autoing everybody because Rel and Jarvan just went in. So yeah,
yeah,
good job by the whole team.
yeah. Definitely a change in um, the two teams. Definitely a much closer matchup. This is what I was personally expecting. Is it was going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of fighting, where one team was not willing to give up anything more or anything less.
Yeah,
But checking with the players, it looks like they might want to get directly into draft. I'm trying to see right now for that game three. I think they're all excited going forward.
yeah. It is also getting a bit late, so everybody watching at this hour, um,
Yeah,
thank you
of
for
course,
joining us.
we
1
have
a.m.
a series that's set up for 11:30 at night. Goes is the first series that we have that goes to 3 games. But checking right now, we are gonna switch over to the screens for the draft, as it looks like the teams are ready to go in for Game Three. Both teams excited to see what can be done. Um,
Yeah, and so are we. I think there was a lot of ban changes from game one, and I'm excited to see what they do in game number three, and if they're able to six ban that jinx this
yeah,
time.
I don't think that they can do that one, but I think they're gonna try. I think
Oh,
they're
they
gonna
do have
give
blue
up.
side again.
Yeah, they went blue side, so I think they know that they can't give that Aurelion Soul over. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do the Zeri Twitch and then Aurelion Soul and take that Zaya there, like they did in game one.
Right now, we'll see
But there's
Zari's
the
back
Zeri
again.
ban.
I think he's one of the most played champions, one of the best
Yeah,
80
Zeri is
carries
definitely a
competitive.
strong champ right now. But Blitzcrank, they're not letting that Blitzcrank through again. They learned their lessons from game one, and they're not living that again. The Thresh was definitely not as impactful as that Blitzcrank. And there's the Aurelion Soul Hover. Definitely had a huge impact in that last game. Those ults onto multiple people were just devastating.
Definitely a good ban if it does go through, but then who do you leave open? Nothing banned. Like we
That
don't
was
need
a
ban.
Soul. That was
It was Ace.
Aurelion Soul. I
Just
will
not like.
point this out because it was something that happened yesterday. Um, for bands, it just goes blank, but for like picks, I believe it just goes to the first in alphabetical order. We had a game yesterday that one of the teams missed their pick and
The
it locked in
Aatrox.
Aatrox and they just
Yeah,
rolled with it. But yeah,
I saw
that's
that game and that was amazing to watch.
a very interesting game. But yeah, that's Zeri, Aurelion, Sol, and Twitch. So it won't surprise me if Zaya's first picked here. Blitz, Tristana, and Garen are banned
Man,
by MAS, and that's the Zaya first pick. So they're looking at being like, okay, make a repeat performance if you want that Jinx.
yeah, I think the Scion was also a really strong point for MAS, so I would not be surprised if they pick it again. Um, Same goes with Jarvan and same goes with Darrell. So I would actually looking that Scion. There's that Scion as I was talking about. Um, and here I want to see, I guess, another the same pick they picked last time.
Yeah, the
Go ahead,
Scion
Charlie.
was definitely helpful. Did punish that Shen a lot. Did
Let
get
me
really
in though.
tanky. That's a Gwen. So that's probably a Gwen mid again. It did all right in game one. Very interesting pick. It's a blind Gwen mid, so it kind of leaves everything open in mid lane for and top lane for Argonauts to kind of counter pick there. Um,
Argonauts going with that Gragas, it seems like haven't locked it in yet. But Boa and Basher was not too unhappy, even though the matchup I think personally is a bit of a Gwen favorite matchup. Boa and Basher seems fine taking Gragas into it. Sejuani locked in for Red Eagle again. No Elise anymore, which is a bit saddening. I think having Elise in the game just puts the pressure on, makes a lot of plays happen. So not having that this time, we'll have to see what MAS pick. Personally, if they pick a Trundle here, I think it's GG and Argonauts should just FF. But we'll have to see what MAS actually decide to pick here.
yeah. Um, and it
Jinx.
is the Jinx, so they did say, hey, we would prefer you not to ban this Jinx and not to ban 480 carries this game, so we're gonna take this here.
It'll be interesting to see what Argonaut ban now because they're out of bans. They don't know
Yeah,
what to ban anymore.
yeah,
The
because
80k has been picked.
won't surprise me if they do go with two jungle bans here. They haven't really thrown anything towards that support. That's a Shen ban. They are MAS has figured out the weak side of top lane, going like, hey, Doc MF doesn't have that champion pool. He didn't show up great on that Shen, and we're gonna just punish him a bit further. And they take out Shen and Malphite for their two bans. And Argonauts returns with not wanting that Jarvan that was quite impactful at times with his ults. Did have that one ult at that fight at Dragon Pit where the rail started off not too great, and his ult, even though that he died, was what set up the Aurelion Soul to ult and then just get that triple kill. That is a Renata ban to lead up on to the end of the ban phase. So we just have those picks now. They could pick jungle here. They do know the matchup and save the counter pick for the support, or try to kind of hide that jungle and see what the rest of Argonauts is. But it is going to be that Wukong jungle here.
Wulong Jungle is the hot pick for MAS. Let's see what Argonauts pick here. Janan, a really good pick into Wukong, because again, she denies a lot of engage potential. Olaf being picked for Argonauts top laner. That's a that's a very different champion from Garen and Jen.
Yeah,
He's very aggressive. We'll have to see how this matchup actually turns out for him, or if he's just picking it for the sake of picking Olaf into Sion, um, which might actually be bad for him because Sion is a great scaler and we'll be just outscaling him in the late game. So we'll have to see.
yeah.
Oh, oh,
Oh, it is.
I'm guessing it's a bug again.
Um, maybe. Yes, that is the bug again. Um, the
Alright,
pro draft blocked an Aatrox for them because they ran out of time, but that was supposed to be Rakan, not Aatrox support again. So don't get too excited. Um, Apparently on their screen it just jumped a couple seconds for them so that they couldn't lock in anything. So it
I
just auto
personally
locked in Aatrox.
I personally would like to say draft lol is just better, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but ProDraft seems like he's giving a lot of Aatrox picks to people.
Yeah. I don't know, cause like when I was setting up for stuff this week, I was having a ton of bugs with uh, Draft LOL, which was unfortunate, which is why we went with Pro Draft this week. I'm going to be checking week to week um,
Right on.
to make sure that I have everything set up for both sides in case we end up using Draft LOL next week. But it's mainly just kind of like how many times that we have to restart Draft LOL. I was watching another tournament last weekend, and they had issues where they had to restart a draft twice because partway through it just didn't let one of the sides pick.
I see.
Yeah,
Well, thankfully, so far it hasn't happened to me because it's a
that's
bit
good.
frustrating. Because when you are going to draft and you have the momentum going, you know what to pick, you know what you want to pick, and you have that draft set up already. It's a bit weird of getting a random champion logged in or not being able to pick a champion at all. Kind of destroys your momentum. So hopefully you can figure something out about these sites. And but yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about the Olaf in the top lane, the Gragas in the mid lane, and the Rakan Jinx pickup.
I personally
Hmm.
like the draft of MAS a lot more than Argonauts.
Okay.
Argonauts does have a lot of good points. They do have a counter for that Scion. The Olaf is going to be a lot more of a bully in this early game to kind of push off the Scion and just
Hmm.
kind of tear him to shreds, not give him his potential. But I do like what the rest of MAS has. Um, they have a lot of frontline in that Scion. They have a lot of dive with the Wukong, the Rakan to kind of get in there, and the Gwen's able to. We saw the Gwen in game one did have a lot of damage at times, but it is something where this is gonna be heavy pressure onto that Argonauts frontline as well as backline at times. Just getting those um, champs onto that Zaya, who's going to be the main damage dealer in these team fights. The Olaf's going to be there, but he's a bit more of a bruiser than a heavy damage. Um, Gragas may be able to make a big turnaround, but that's going to be around his ult, just kind of dissuading those team fights there. So I'm feeling like MAS, just based off the draft, could take this game three.
I have to actually agree with you. As much as I like Janna pickup for that Wukong, for that Rakan, for that Gwen who struggle into engaging into the Janna, I think they just have a simpler draft. The ease of execution really favors MAS. They can just play traditional front to back. As we saw in the game too, Jinx, if she gets unleashed, she's like unstoppable. I don't see anybody from Argonauts being able to catch up to her other than Olaf. So all they have to do is burst the Olaf or put him so far behind that he's not actually able to impact the map. He's not able to help out his team in team fights. And if that happens, then I think MS just is favored in my opinion.
Right. But on that note, we are going to take a brief break for spectator delay as we load into game three. So we will be right back.
Hello and welcome back for the game 3 between TPO MAS versus TPO Argonauts. Um, a great first two games, one each goes to both team, and now let's see what happens in game 3. Looking like
Welcome to
blue
Summoner's
side
Rift.
invade on the top lane.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they're trying to get some kind of pressure onto that Scion
30
early.
seconds until
He
minions
was very
spawn.
impactful in that top side last game. Maybe trying to bully him or sneaking in to that bush. The Scion does spot him out, throws out his ghost. The Gragas does flash forward. The Q, I believe, did land. They are slowing him down, trying to get that stun onto him for the Sejuani. It does wear off. He is able to walk out. The first blood does go over the Olaf,
Minions have
though, and
spawned.
that engage, though.
I think
Um,
if he doesn't stop to press Q, he just lives there. A little bit of misplay. He did have the ghost to keep running. He did not try to dodge any of the Olaf Qs, which was pretty unfortunate because now the kill goes onto the Olaf, the one champion that's really strong early game in that matchup, and it's not Zion.
Definitely a bit of a mistake there, to not keep walking. Definitely could have made it out, but ended up being like, oh, I have the Gwen here. We can turn on this. But ended up going down himself.
Was able to get the lane faster, so he will be up in experience, but will be down a long sword worth of money. But on the other side of the news, the mid lane, the Gragas did lose his flash. So it could be prime estate for that Wukong.
Yeah,
Arguing.
actually, mid lane lost their flash as well as the ghost and flash were blown onto the Olaf as well. So there's no sums up there, and the Wukong did start bot side, so it does look like he's gonna pay some attention to them, which is wise with how the summoner spells were blown early for that Olaf.
If somebody in the chat would go back in this WOD and see if Olaf ghosted to get the lane faster, I would be very happy. Because I don't think he burned that ghost while chasing Sion. And I don't think he used it in the first 2 minutes in lane. Which is unfortunate for him because now he's 2 sums down to 1. Even though he does have that kill lead and he does have that CS lead at the moment. And bot lane just fighting 2v2, trading often does not look like it's accumulating to a kill or a health lead for either sides. Both laners generally be healthy. Well, top lane is struggling, 5 CS to 17, and the wave is pushing out. So Sion needs help bad, and he helps need now. Words to Earth, I bet.
It's just that late game. But the Wukong is around top side currently, taking that top scuttle. The Gwen might get. It looks like it's going to be collapsed on here. Sejuani coming mid. The Wukong is kind of mirroring. Does hover down. The Sejuani did go in, but paid a hefty price as that true damage from Gwen did come through. Up in top lane, this Sion is getting aggressed on by the Olaf, who does get a second kill. After Sion did try to unfreeze the wave there, does pay for it with his life. The Olaf doing a good job just kind of keeping him off the wave, using that early game pressure that Olaf has to make Sion's life even harder.
Definitely will be a really hard matchup for Sion, as we already pointed out. Wukong already up there trying to shove the wave out, but another wave is already there, so it's not going to be the easiest task in the world. Especially because Sion did not opt in to hit the minions when he was in passive form and
And
kill those minions.
Sejuani's here too.
Sejuani's trying to keep the freeze and Wukong's trying to break the freeze, but neither team are getting what they want, because Olaf, I think, just queued the whole wave. I think that's like messed up now. We'll have to see when the directed camera. Our Lord and Savior takes us up there, and he did actually have the wave out in a fantastic freeze, but it decided
Good
not to keep it.
Hurricane by the Janna does get some poke damage on to the Jinx and Rakan, but the Rakan was able to um, get it out. There was a disconnect by the Sejuani. We'll see if there's a pause, but does not look like it. Just half a second disconnect.
Oh, there's that
Oh.
lag that League gives us. That was a very quick pause for us, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't even see it happen. But as I said before, Gwen into this matchup does not feel bad at all. Is able to not only keep a CS lead, but is also able to bully Bovine a little bit, and Bovine has to call his jungler. Seems like
Oh,
he wants to fight.
Gragas does look to go in, but the Wukong does advance forward to get out the dash forward, but the W does heal up enough for the Gragas to get out. What started out to be something that Gragas wanted didn't unfortunately go his way, because the Wukong did intercept that Sejuani tried to come in as well.
Yep, definitely did not going into Argonauts' favor. The Sejuani was cut out by the Wukong on the side. So Boa and Basher was just the ghost for
Ghost
ghost.
blown by both top laners, as well as the ult from Sion. MAS is looking for this first Drake. Does have a bit of the pressure. Gale Force goes out. They do have vision on it, because that pink ward is not placed in the right spot to get that vision.
A summoner has
Pause
is
does come
the-
out as the Red Eagle, the Argonauts jungler, does disconnect for the second time.
Seems like his internet or his client is having a little bit of issues, which is understandable, which does mean that MAS is able to get the dragon and leave at this point. Since we can't really chrono break, I think Argonauts will have to be satisfied with what they have. But on the other side of the map, Olaf is just crushing this lane. Sion, not only did he burn his Ghost, but he had to burn his ultimate just to get away. So now he's already down 20 CS, if 24 CS, which just means it's going to get worse for him because Olaf already has 2 kills and he's up CS. So when he comes back with that Stride Breaker, Sion is not in a good mood, I think. Wukong
No.
or Gwen.
No,
Both
he's
of-
definitely going to get bullied early by this Olaf, who's just continually freezing the wave, so it's not there. Fortunately enough for the Sion, it does look like his bot lane as well as his mid lane does have some CS leads. Here's the small pause from them pausing itself.
Yep, red spaghetti Claude. But yeah, I think everybody else is doing decently okay, especially the mid lane is doing pretty good. The matchup is in favor of MAS. But Sion really needs the armor. He really needs that gold to sustain this lane. Once he gets his armor items, I think Warden Mills should be his rush. In my opinion, that's a really good item into auto attackers in the top lane. If you can hear me, please buy a Warden's man. But other than that, I think Olaf is gonna bully him until he's able to outsustain him.
Yeah, those Qs are landing and they're still hurting.
Oh, that plus 69 on that cannon and that Astro minion. League is playing a rough game. Bot lane, on the other hand, Jinx is just happy farming. She doesn't have any pressure of getting engaged on. Janna's not an engaged champion. She's a disengaged champion. So Jinx really doesn't have to really care about anything other than the poke itself.
She's just sitting there going like, I'd like to farm up. The Rakan does go in, does get a lot of damage down onto the Janna. The Feather Call does root the Rakan, get some return damage onto him. Decent traits in bot side. The Rakan does use his Q to heal up. Does land a knock up onto the Xayah. Bit of a mismatch as wife and husband are
on the
on
other side.
opposite sides.
Mommy and daddy fighting in the kitchen. With Jinx and Jenna just watching uh as spectators, like we are. Um, but yeah, the farming goes on uh everywhere. It's a bit of a lull state. Even though Wukong did start the Fifth Herald, he does not have any priority. Khan goes in,
Khan
blows
did
him.
go in. The Xayah did blow her ult, but didn't pull back the feathers at all. Looks like the Wukong and Gwen are looking to come in here. The Gwen does get hit by the Gragas ult and knocked away. Wukong's forced to just leave the Gwen there. Good
One
ult
walking.
by Bovine to get that, make sure that the Herald goes down and get a kill.
A little unnecessary when Wukong already saw that Sejuani took over the Herald and they had no priority in the top lane. You just have to give it. You got the first dragon, take the trade-off, fight for the next dragon. Your bot lane is seemingly stronger. Because he burned Xayah ultimate by just doubling it, which I think could have been avoided by the Xayah had she just stood her ground. Oh,
Knock up onto the Janna. The quick ult by Jinx just seals the kill onto the Janna. Good plays, but here comes the Sejuani looking to potentially make a play bot side. As Wukong is setting up vision, trying to see what he can find, see if he can find that Sejuani. Did see that the red buff was up and not taken.
Yeah, that's true. The Tabby buy, plated Steel Cap buy from that Scion is gonna help him a lot in that matchup. But he needs some more armor to be able to walk up the waves. Because even now, I think Olaf can just walk him down. He has a Stride Breaker completed to 1 boot by, so he's so far ahead. He's almost 2 gigold, well, 1.3 gigold ahead
Yeah.
of the Scion.
Definitely a
Sweet
big
man.
gold difference. He is forced, Sion is once again forced to blow that all for absolutely nothing from the Olaf. The Olaf's just able to create that much pressure with that stride breaker. Didn't blow ult, didn't blow his ghost at all.
Yeah, it didn't even go. He just threw some axes, slowed him down, put him so much into the pressure. Even though Olaf's not running Ignite, I think Santa's playing a little too passive, burning his ultimate gangrene in the mid lane on supports.
Looks like both supports do roam mid. Exhaust thrown out by Janna does get more, as well as the ult from Sejuani to kind of dissuade the Rakan and the Gwen from any more. Wukong's coming in from the side, is not seen here. Does invisible in. The Rakan does W, but the flash is there to get them out. Janna blocks the Jinx ult. Rakan is thrown under turret by the Janna ult. A good turnaround from this Argonauts team as they do get 3 kills to none. Good plays across the board by the support mid and jungle of Argonauts as they're able to take that and rotate to the second Drake.
I really don't like that they were trying to force a fight in the mid lane when Gwen was already not full health. And also did get ulted by that Gragas, losing 3 members in that fight for 0 and then giving up a dragon for that is just not a trade you would be willing to take. So we'll have to see how this game goes on, but I think Jinx needs more resources. She definitely needs to be the one receiving these ganks from the jungler. She needs to be farming better. There's only 2, like she's already a kill up, but she's not that far up in CS, and Xayah has the control of the lane. Oh,
And
Chemtech sold.
And the Sejuani comes in, does drop the Herald here, looking to get some gold in the pockets of their bot lane. Take away that lead that the bot lane did have. Jinx
one
does
down.
look to step forward, but I believe she gets root called and's not able to progress any further. Some decent damage in a trade by the Gwen onto the Gragas. Gwen's almost untouched there. Looks like the Jinx and Rakan are looking to freeze bot lane.
They're trying to freeze with one minion, which will not happen. Maybe they're trying to hold a slow push, and then I don't really know what they're doing with the wave. But the wave is pushing out towards Xayah, and Xayah already has her mythic, which means Jinx has to reset and get her own mythic, which she's not on at actually. She needs 100 more gold.
She's currently not close enough to get that yet.
She is resetting. Maybe she has to.
She's not going to have enough off this reset. She needs about 1200 gold.
Yeah, it's 1225 if I'm not wrong. And she's sitting on. Oh, she got 1250. She can reset now.
I don't know if it's the best time to reset anymore with the Janna and Xayah there to push. Gonna get a lot of damage onto that bot turret. That Janna did interrupt the back as well, so that is big.
That is big, but that does mean that just Jinx is staying in the lane, and then she can just farm up this wave. Xayah and Janna should not be able to push out do damage. Gets hit by the NATO once again. Maybe Jinx can finally get a reset here. Get her mythic. Definitely needs a crack in this game. I don't think she can afford to go Gale Force, which again, from Xayah, she went Gale Force. I think it's not the greatest choice. They have a lot of armor stacking on that team. Kraken would have been really good. But we'll have to see, wait and watch how this goes.
And Jinx is finally backing now. The wave did get pushed out, the Janna did roam, so they're looking at it as Xayah doesn't want to push as hard. Rakan's roaming to clear some vision, but it looks like Argonauts is looking to get that second Herald for themselves. So they do have all the priority over. As Cyan's still sitting just on boots, trying to get to his mythic, but is quite a lot of gold down.
Yep, it's a bunch of gold down from all that shenanigans that happened early on. And we see Argonauts once again on the Rift Herald, and this time the Nanoman disconnected. Are we gonna see a pause? We are gonna see a pause while he reconnects.
Second pause of the game. They're just trying to keep everybody awake. Did everybody make sure that they had some type of caffeine before this game so that they could make it all the way through game 3?
Right. Let's take a stake of the game while we are in the pause. Let's see what's happened in the game and what can happen. Already, 1.7 or like more than that. They're already down a lot of gold on MAS's side. They're down 5 kills. They have 1 kill, and that's on Jinx where they want it to be. While on the other side, Argonauts looking pretty. They have money on Olaf, they have money on Gragas, and their Xayah's farming good. What do you think MS from this point onwards needs to do to get into the game?
So they do have the scaling potential. Zion scales indefinitely with his passive. He is looking at building Heartsteel again, so he's going to get those Heartsteel stacks. So he will be beefy at some point in the game. As we saw, it has gotten a little bit easier for him in the laning phase. Gwen will outscale the Gragas regarding her damage as well. And she does have that true damage. It does look like, in the meantime, they are just looking to get that top turret, tier 1 turret there. Sion ults away, says, go ahead, I'm not fighting you on this one, I'd like to stay alive and just kind of farm up a bit. Gragas does go in onto their con. The con W's in and does force the Gragas ult out. Ooh, big interrupt on the Wukong. Does force out his flash, but now there's a big turnaround as MAS is looking for something to defend their jungle. This Gwen does blow her ult as well as the ghost to get them out of the jungle there. Meanwhile, bot lane, the Jinx and Xayah are 1v1ing. Xayah is forced to blow her heal and ult to make sure that she doesn't die there. Does give pressure over to MAS if they want to try to go for this third Drake here, which they do. Science trying to frontline. Good plays by that Jinx and OK Demon to just kind of bully out the Xayah and make it so that their damage isn't there. It does look like they're gonna just go for a steal, but the Rakan hops over and makes sure that the Sejuani cannot go in. As MAS does take their second Drake of a game over just an outplay in the bot lane, and then Argonaut just agreeing to give it over that Drake.
Yeah, in hopes of stabilizing the game, they did get the third dragon, second for themselves. But the goal lead really hasn't slowed down. They're already down 4k. It does not look like it's going to go down anytime soon. I know there's the scaling aspect of the Jinx of that Sion, but if they're put too far behind, I don't think it'll matter too much. As I say that, Sejuani throws an ultimate, Gwen just shrouds. Gwen is immune. I know everybody here definitely knows that. Every time they play against a Gwen, she's always seemingly immune to all your damage. But yeah, saying the same thing again, Olaf is going towards a death stance. Will be more unkillable if he's not already, which means he can split push more aggressively, or he can join team fights and be a nuisance towards this Jinx. We'll have to see.
Big thing to point out is OK Demon has elected to go what looks like Phantom Dancer again, as Galaxy Fox is looking at the what looks to be the Infinity Edge again.
Well, on Xayah, you go Navori Quick Blades instead of an Heavy Edge, so I hope he's going that.
Yes, I completely forgot about Navori. I haven't really built it that often, so. But the Rakan here does get caught out. Does blow his flash.
And a heal from Jinx, and they'll still lose. This bot tier 1 more money into the pockets of the Xayah, and as you were pointing it out, I think it's really important to know that fact. I think Jinx will be really hard for her to kite that Olaf, because even with the Phantom Dancer movement speed, you're not getting away from a Ghosted Olaf. He's running at you, and he's running at you fast. But I think in that scenario, nothing can actually save you, so going Infinity Edge or Phantom Dancer would not matter. I would like to see her maybe go Infinity into LDR instead of Phantom Dancer, since they have so tanky of a team. But I feel like if she's going Phantom Dancer, then Infinity Edge, and then LDR, her damage is stopped by 4 items. Which is really unfortunate because their team is already down so much. They can't really afford.
Looks like the mid jungle and bot lane of MAS are looking to kind of find and engage. Janet's ult to kind of dissuade and pause the fight. Sion ult in but hits a wall. Jinx is on the backline but just settling for the support so far. Does turn their eye to the top lane. The Olaf does get a kill onto the Wukong. Gwen gets a shutdown there. Jinx has been untouched. Everybody just kind of ran by her. Shut down onto the Olaf. That's where you want the gold. Flash forward from OK Demon to get another shutdown onto them. A lot of gold just went onto that Jinx there. Big fight, and apparently directed camera loves this Rakan right now, as it just goes back to base with him.
That was a really interesting fight. Another turn of events where Jinx was able to capture 2 shutdowns and Gwen was able to get one of those, which means they have the money where they want it, and the kill score is now 75. Goal lead is now down to almost 2k goal lead. Not even 2, 1k goal. My bad, 1k goal lead, which means MAS might just be back in the game.
No. They definitely have the damage going where it wants to. That Phantom Dancer does come out for the Jinx, as well as a crit cloak. So they do have that feeling good pressure now.
Yeah, all those kills help Jinx actually get the second item faster than Xayah, and the dragon spawning in 30 seconds. So if Xayah has the item in this reset, which I don't think
This
she's
Gwen
taking.
is gonna get caught out though. This smite does go down onto her. She does get rooted as well. She's trying to do any type of return damage. Does get a lot of damage onto this Sejuani, who's now thinking otherwise regarding this fight, trying to dance around, get away. The Jinx and Rakan join in as well. They do have the side lane split fight between the bot lane is there. There's flashes going out. Double kill onto the Wukong as well as another kill onto the Jinx. And this is a third Drake for MAS as Olaf is just pushing in this top lane, trying to get anywhere. A big difference between these two teleports. The Olaf stuck to try to fight. She is getting shredded by this Gwen now. This might be the matchup for MAS. Just stick the Gwen onto the Olaf. He's not going to do the return damage to her. And MAS, after that fight and that Drake, just turn onto this Baron. They go, we have what we want. We have the damage now. This is essentially late game for us. We're going to fight you and we're going to keep going at you.
Right, and this is what happens when you play Olaf top lane and you don't run TP, is that the enemy top laner, as much as he struggles, he's able to TP away and he's able to help his team. And you saw that in that team fight, that Sion was a big part of that Gwen living for so long and helping Gwen, giving that pressure and making sure that his team comes out on top. And even though the Olaf did take away an inhibitor turret, it really doesn't matter because it's a top lane turret. And most objectives, most important objective in the game would be a Baron. And if somebody's pushing top, you're fine giving that inhibitor because that's like the least useful inhibitor in my opinion to get. So I would like to see this Olaf go bot lane. If he's gonna split push, then he needs to do it in the bot lane where he's making his way down.
So this is a big change in events. This MAS just went essentially from a 4k deficit to now leading. Even though it's a slight lead by 500, they now have that gold lead in the game. That was something that was always there throughout the game. Just 14 fights by Argonauts resulted in the Jinx getting fed, which just kind of scaled out of control for the rest of the team. Yes, Olaf's still strong, but this Gwen's strong, this Jinx is strong, and they're not afraid to step up and take a fight.
Yeah, as you say that, Wukong is all up in their jungle, especially looking at Olaf bot lane. He's not afraid of just going through the jungle in front of him.
Gwen may have stepped too far forward. She does get a lot of return damage onto the Gragas, but does get rooted by the Sejuani, who does show up to make sure that the Gragas stays alive and that the kill is secured. Big shutdown gold goes over to that Gragas there.
One thing that's very interesting, this Sion is another harsh steal. 26 minutes of the game and he has 0 stacks. I feel like at this point, after what we saw in game number 2, he should just go Jackson Sion. He's not able to proc a lot of these hard seal stacks in any of these matchups, strong or weak.
I think this is because he's been in those team fights with the rest of them, but this is not good. The Sejuani and the Olaf are caught out. The Wukong's there as well as the Rakan. Ult comes out from the Rakan as well as the Sion. Teleport from Gragas does dissuade, as it's currently a 4v5 without them knowing it. Gwen is topside, does have teleport to join, but looking to split push once again.
Very important thing. Olaf burned ultimate really, really early. So even if they go in now, he's very susceptible. I can't speak English. He can get
He can get
CC'd very
charmed.
easily. Yeah, he
Yeah.
can get charmed. He can get knocked up. He can get chompered by the Jinx.
Yeah, and he
So
needs that to make sure that he can get to that Jinx, because that's their entire damage. If they can't get to the Jinx, they can't do anything. The Janna's acting a bit aggressive. Not really anybody around. Does go back to mid lane to join up with the rest of the three-man group. Gwen is back topside, just pushing in this onto this tier 2. Fortunately, the Baron was taken, but there wasn't anything really done after that Gwen kill was done, and the gold lead is essentially none. Both teams have just 100 gold apart, which is essentially just a minion or two away for one side or the other. Wukong is scouting out, but does get pushed off by the Olaf and Sejuani here. Soul point for MAS does come up in 2 seconds. This is a big fight for them. There is teleport on Gwen as well as the Scion. They can come in. They're both coming in. The ult comes out from the Scion and the Wukong. Jinx is already blown up the Janna, but is forced to blow out. The Gwen does take down the Xayah as they're able to forced to run away. They're turning onto the rest of the 4-man. The Gwen gets thrown under turret. Tanking turret shots, is barely walking out of there. Banana Man's trying to do anything. The Jinx gets on the side, but isn't able to get a kill. Currently a 2 for 2, but a 2 for 2 in the favor of Argonauts, it seems, as their jungler's still up and they can look to try to take this Drake.
yeah, going very aggressive, had a really good start of the fight. Instantly killing Janna, instantly killing Xayah, and still over chasing under the turret. Costs them this dragon, which could have been their soul and would have been really beneficial for them. I think at the end of the day, Jinx is still alive, which means her bounty is not gone over to anybody else. It's a little upsetting to see that both the top laners had to TP in super early, so then they didn't really get to use their top lane TP advantage. Even though Bo and Basher uses one early on, and he was able to get to the fight before her and burn out a TP. So we'll have to see how they decide to play the game now that nobody has TP on the map, and the Baron's up.
Yeah, both ADCs take their respective red buff, as both teams are looking to try to fight over this Baron buff now. MAS did take River first, but now we're pushed off as the Gwen is topside. The full 5-man kind of approaching the MAS side for Argonauts. Gwen's now rotating towards that Baron buff, but is by herself currently.
I would like to see this Siren go bot lane and push that away with Lee so he can get something done on the other side of the map while they're dancing for the Baron, because he can always join the fight with his ultimate. But it seems like he's opting to stay mid, opting to stay close to her Jinx, which is not a bad call. It's just they're missing a lot of minions on that side, and it's not gonna help them get an XP lead in any lane.
No, it is just kind of a back and forth around this Baron. Who's pushing mid, who's not pushing mid. Just kind of trading minion waves right now between these two ADCs. As the Olaf has now moved to match the Gwen up in top side.
And Gragas is going bot lane. Now that his TP is up, he's able to go side lane again and push the wave. He's TPing back in?
TPing back in after the Janna is caught out. The ult from the Jinx does secure the kill. Another dash forward by the Rakan. The Wukong dives in with his ult, but does end up getting essentially blown up. Wukong does go down. Jinx is trying to kite, but does get ulted by the Sejuani. Gragas gets a double kill and the shutdown onto the Jinx. Gwen is trying to do something. The Scion does go down. She's throwing out the damage, but I don't think she has enough to get a single kill here, as she's getting a lot of CC against her. She does get a shutdown kill onto the Olaf, and the Gragas gets a turnaround triple kill. The Gwen stands tall and gets a triple kill and an ace after a quite messy fight in which looked like it was going bad after the Jinx did get ulted by the Sejuani and taken down early there.
Baby Cod coming in huge, he's coming in clutch for his team, getting them the triple kill that saves their game. I think they burned too much on that Janna. They used it, Rakan ulti and flash. They used Sion R, and they used that Jinx R just to kill that Janna. So the fight was really, really favored for Argonauts, who had their summoners, who had their ultimates, and it turned out they were almost winning the fight until Baby Cod showed up and he said, I'll do it myself. And he killed all of them.
Yeah, shows the amount of healing that she can get done just with that single mythic on her build.
Now she has a Rabadon Zed cap, so she's gonna hit hard if she was not already hitting hard. And she's gonna heal more with the AP ratio.
And she's teleporting mid. They're looking for another fight. Wukong does go over the blue buff wall. The Olaf and Gragas are partially caught out. The Wukong is getting bursted down though. They do over chase. It looks like a bad fight so far for MAS, as most of their carries are currently low, as well as members.
The board for a support trade for both teams. But the health bars are bigger on Argonaut side, so MAS might have to leave. Banana Man already less than 20% health, but Bowen Basher is getting chased by this Gwen. Or was.
Gwen Basher stepping forward quite a bit. Does not get hit by the Scion Q, as they were starting to set up the dance once again. But this time for the next Drake, Argonauts does have the inside path. Sion's walking in first, does slow down most. The Gragas ult to get the Jinx out of there. Sion misses his ult, but does land the follow-up Q. It's a split fight as Sion's just looking to push everybody off, and MAS just turns and takes the dragon. They are looking to go on to Baby Cod. Rakan does ult in, does WN, gets a big knockup to allow Baby Cod to get the damage. The turnaround is massive as they're able to just turn and take 4 kills immediately after that Drake.
They didn't choose to go mid lane. They could have probably ended the game, but Jinx deciding to chase the kill is probably gonna end up costing the game for them. Which is fine, because they're scaling pretty hard. This Gwen is unkillable, it seems like. Both Gragas and Olaf were on her, and she was able to not only survive, but turn back the fight. And Rakan coming in clutch with the Mikhails onto that stun target on Gwen. So, as also we can see, the Jinx is finally going to the last whisper item. As I said before, the 4th item should be a last whisper item. It does delay her build, but it's better later than never. So after she finishes her item, which is at this point should be 1500, 1550, she should have it soon enough. She has 100 more gold to go. Yeah, she stopped her back. She's gonna go take the wolves, and then she's gonna back, get her item. And then this Jinx, I know this has been a Gwen show for the past 10-15 minutes, but this Jinx is going to be massive.
Yeah.
She's going to one-shot not one-shot, but she's going to put out a lot more damage than she has been putting out. And we'll have to see it now with the Baron buffs already on their side.
And it is important to also notice, Sion has scaled. Sion had that 0-2 start, but he has scaled. He's sitting there. He's got several items. He's getting stacks onto it. Ult in as
Bow and
all
Basher and
out by
Red
the
Eagle
Wukong.
trying
But
to catch out this Wukong, but this monkey is very slippery. You do say that Simon has scaled, and he has, with the less economy that he had throughout the game. He's only 2 items, but he's a very, very beefy boy.
yeah,
And you can look at Olaf, who has 4 items, but he's not able to do anything at this point in the game because Gwen just outdamages him and Jinx
yeah.
just runs away faster.
He's got
Um,
no magic resist really. It's all the
oh,
time. A big flank by Bovine Basher does get the Jinx, but she's able to flash out. The Gwen does get onto the side, but she's able to just shred through the Olaf and Sejuani. A double kill onto her um, after a good catch by Bovine onto the Jinx, who just able to flash out to safety.
yeah, really unfortunate that Jinx was able to survive on literally 10% health bar, but was able to flash out. A very,
A
very
summoner
good
has
attempt
disconnected.
from Bow and Basher's side, but they were not able to do just enough damage. Just a little bit more damage, and this fight could have been turned. But this Gwen is huge.
And they're MAS is just looking to end. The Janna just dies instantly to the Jinx. Wukong takes out the Xayah, and then they just end the game in a
That
quick
is
motion.
all she
And,
wrote.
and it's all over as MAS does the reverse sweep to take the series 2-1.
As you can see in the damage graph, if you do show it on the screen, Gwen did 56k damage, and the second highest damage on her team was Jinx with 28k. So you can see how impactful, how important that Gwen was in that match. And she was probably the reason they won that game because midway through the game, they were struggling a lot and they were not able to find a lot of kills. They were not able to find a lot of wins. But then that one team fight that Gwen turned around was, I think, point where they won the game.
Yeah, that they showed a lot of resiliency. They were down a lot. Gwen was exceptional this game, was the main factor in this game, had significantly more damage than anyone else. Baby Cod did show a massive showing. OK Demon did phenomenal with how much pressure he absorbed in that pick ban phase.
Yep. And that's how the good teams, you differentiate between a good team and a bad team, right? Somebody on a good team, even if you're having a bad game, one of your teammates is gonna stand up and say, "Hey, let me carry this time," right?
Yeah.
Second game, Jinx was absolutely the carry, and the third game, the Gwen showed up, and the Gwen said, "Guys, don't worry about this. I got this one," and she did her job.
Yeah, definitely did her job there. Um, did a phenomenal job um, in that game three. Did well in game two as well. Um, it was kind of a massive turnaround from game one and game two. Um, trying to see if there's somebody specific that they want pulled in, or if they just want the MVP of this series pulled in for MAS. But I do show that the MVP vote is looking like it's going to Baby Cod, who was absolutely exceptional these games. Was definitely the exciting series that we were looking for here as well. Between these two teams, definitely a lot on the line. I know that in the charity tournament they did go against each other in round one, and I believe Argonauts got the better of MAS that time. So there was a bit of blood between the two of them where they just wanted, MAS wanted to prove that they were better this time.
Definitely. Um, I don't even know, because I wasn't able to watch the charity tournament, but just knowing that there was this a story behind this that was amazing to cast all three games. And who do you think personally? I know you're doing the MVP award, but who do you think personally deserves this MVP?
Um, I personally think Baby Cod. The team did request that Scourge does get pulled in, so I'm going to be pulling him in. And how you doing, Scourge?
Was I dropped? Was I yoinked?
You were yoinked into the call for
Oh,
the the cast. How are you feeling after that one?
good. That was good games. Easy in a way, I would say.
It was
Got to
a
taunt a little bit.
it was a 3 game series, and you guys kept your cool after losing the first one. What was your thinking going to the second game?
See, it was like the classic like Hosian Geerch, where you throw the first game on purpose just to see what they got, and then you just rail them in the last 2 games.
I cannot deny it because you actually did it. So
Yeah.
It's all according to plan.
all according to plan. Another question I would ask is like, in the in the third game, you guys were losing up to a point. Right? Your top side was not doing super hot. Your bottom lane was going even at best, and your mid lane was somewhat ahead. At what point did the game change for you guys, where you guys were like, "Oh, this is it. This is where we win the game"?
I would say that through my extensive like meditation that I do, you play it cool. Some Desert Fathers quotes you throw in there, nice and easy. We knew we scaled. You just sit back and you just let it ride. We knew Benton would suck. That's Red Eagle for everybody who doesn't know. It's a classic,
Right.
Yeah.
He did have some internet issues, so I will give him a little benefit of the doubt.
I mean, don't live in Kentucky. How about that? That's
I see. All right, Jim, do you have any questions for him?
Not that I can think of. I do absolutely love the flame back and forth. I know that a lot of you guys are friends. And
yes.
I have been watching the banter channel that has essentially just been you guys back and forth throughout the entire week after hearing that you guys were playing together against each other in week 1. Have you guys looked at the roster? Do you see anybody that you're kind of worried about?
Yeah, we're not really worried, but that one guy, let me find him in the banner chat. He said he was going to first blood every top laner.
Magus and
It's not that
Cheezer?
I'm worried. It's just, you throw down the gauntlet, now you're going to get hands. It's kind of, it's just how things roll, right?
You're looking forward to playing him. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's a good way to put it. Yes.
Okay, so I mean, I would look forward to play him too because he did say he was gonna first blood everybody, and after today's game, I think your top player is a rock for your team. He's just there. He's a tank boy. Even in the Olaf matchup, he was able to struggle through it. In the second game, he was actually doing pretty good. So I don't think Magus would be able to solo kill him, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
I mean, I'm not worried.
Oh
Yeah, and you guys have to wait until like the last week to do that one. Just went through the schedule, so that's your week 9 opponent.
We might come up with like a karma top strategy or something then. By that time, you never know.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of time, a lot of changes.
Maybe 80 carry will finally take over every position of the game. That's what I want. I want 5 80 carries on the team.
People autoing each other back and forth.
Exactly.
You don't need to do
full
any
range
spells.
poke jumps.
All right.
But that'll be all from us tonight. Thank you all for those that turned in, and have a nice night.